For decades, Wayne Newton wasn't just a performer. He was the symbol of Las Vegas itself. With his velvet voice, endless charm, and unmatched stage presence, he became the face of the Strip, performing thousands of shows and earning a fortune most entertainers could only dream of. His mansion, Casa de Shenandoah, was a tourist attraction. His success seemed unstoppable. But behind the bright lights and applause was a storm quietly forming, one that would eventually destroy almost everything he had built. Despite earning millions throughout his long career, Wayne Newton faced one financial blow after another. Lawsuits, failed business deals, and massive debts piled up faster than he could recover. Even the IRS came after him, forcing him into a financial nightmare that shocked fans around the world. It became one of the most stunning downfalls in showbiz history. The man who once defined luxury was suddenly fighting just to keep a stable life, and yet, Wayne Newton didn't break. Now, at over 80 years old, people look at him and ask, how did he survive losing everything? What does his life look like today? This is the real story of his rise, collapse, and the unexpected life he's living now long after the world thought his journey was over. Long before Wayne Newton became the undisputed Mr. Las Vegas, he was simply a soft-spoken boy with a voice far bigger than his age. Born into a modest family, Wayne grew up surrounded by financial struggle, health challenges, and endless uncertainty. But even in those early years, there was one thing he possessed that no one could ignore, a natural gift that captivated anyone who heard him sing. While other kids were playing outside, Wayne was performing wherever he could: fairs, school events, local gatherings, anything that allowed him to share his voice. It didn't take long for people to notice that this young boy wasn't just talented. He was extraordinary. His big break came when he and his brother auditioned for a Las Vegas lounge show in the early 1960s. They expected a small opportunity, maybe a weekend performance, but the audience reaction was overwhelming. Wayne's voice, smooth, powerful, and emotionally rich, instantly stole the show. Within weeks, he went from a complete unknown to one of the most exciting new acts on the Strip. Suddenly, he was everywhere. His schedule filled with nightly performances, interviews, and television appearances. Fans loved his sincerity, his charisma, and the warm presence he brought to every stage he stepped on. But it was his breakout hit, Dank is Shown, that turned him into a national sensation. The song wasn't just popular, it was iconic, marking the beginning of a career that would span more than half a century. Wayne became the kind of entertainer people compared to legends before him. Dependable, elegant, and entirely unforgettable. While other stars came and went, Wayne remained. Night after night, year after year, he delivered performances that made people fall in love with Las Vegas itself. The city embraced him, celebrated him, and eventually crowned him as its true musical king. As his fame grew, so did his income. Wayne headlined his own shows, recorded albums, appeared on talk shows, and even acted in films. His schedule was exhausting, but his passion for performing kept him going. By the 1970s and 80s, he was one of the highest-paid entertainers in the country, sometimes performing 2 shows a night, 7 days a week for months on end. His success allowed him to buy the sprawling Casa de Shenandoah, a massive estate complete with horses, exotic animals, and endless luxury. It became a symbol of his hard-earned fortune, a place fans associated with glamour, charm, and the American dream. But behind the glamour was a man who worked relentlessly, often ignoring his own health and personal life. The constant demands of fame took a toll on him, yet he refused to step away. He knew that his legacy was tied to the stage, and he gave it everything he had. To many in the entertainment world, Wayne Newton represented stability, someone who stayed committed to his craft long after others had burned out or faded away. He wasn't just performing in Las Vegas. He was shaping its identity, helping transform the city into the entertainment capital it became. Still, the more successful he became, the more pressure built around him. Managing a massive estate, maintaining a non-stop performance schedule, and navigating the business side of showbiz required constant attention. And while Wayne loved performing, he wasn't always prepared for the challenges that came with immense wealth. Behind the scenes, financial decisions were being made that he didn't fully understand. Partnerships formed, deals were negotiated, and responsibilities piled up. But in the middle of it all, Wayne continued to trust the people around him, believing they had his best interests at heart, though what he didn't know yet was that the same empire he worked so hard to build would eventually collapse. Not because of a lack of talent or dedication, but because of a series of financial mistakes, betrayals, and mounting pressures that would push him into a downfall no one expected. At the height of his fame, Wayne Newton stood on top of the world, admired by millions. But just beyond that spotlight was a shadow slowly growing larger, preparing to change everything he had ever worked for. As Wayne Newton's fame grew, so did the size of the world around him, his home, his business ventures, his partnerships, and the endless responsibilities that came with being the face of Las Vegas. But success often hides the cracks forming beneath the surface. And for Wayne, those cracks slowly widened into one of the most devastating financial downfalls in entertainment history. What fans saw on stage was a polished icon who seemed untouchable. What they didn't see was the quiet chaos building behind the scenes, fueled by risky investments, legal battles, and betrayals from people he trusted completely. Wayne had always been an artist first and a businessman second. His passion was the stage, not paperwork or financial planning. So he relied heavily on advisors, partners, and managers to handle the growing complexity of his empire. Unfortunately, that trust would come at a high cost. Over the years, he became entangled in deals that looked promising, but were poorly structured, and some were mishandled entirely. Promoters, lenders, and even close associates entered partnerships that ultimately left Wayne carrying enormous financial burdens. The more he earned, the more he spent, and the more complicated his finances became. Casa de Shenandoah alone required millions in upkeep, from staff salaries to animal care to maintenance of the sprawling property. Then came the lawsuits. One legal issue triggered another, each one dragging Wayne deeper into debt. Promoters sued him over canceled shows. Former business partners claimed he owed them money. Creditors demanded payment for loans tied to failed projects. Even airlines became part of the storm. One of the most infamous lawsuits came when a company alleged that Wayne failed to pay for a private jet he attempted to purchase. The legal battles piled up one after another, creating financial pressure even he couldn't withstand. But the biggest blow came from the one institution no public figure ever wants as an enemy: the IRS. Years of complicated financial dealings, misreported income, and disputes over taxes resulted in massive penalties. Suddenly, Wayne was facing hundreds of thousands, later millions in tax debt. The government placed liens on his property, froze assets, and threatened to seize parts of his estate. Headlines exploded with stories claiming Wayne Newton was bankrupt, finished, or hiding from debt collectors. For a man who spent decades building a spotless reputation, the public humiliation was almost worse than the financial loss. All the while, Wayne continued performing, hoping that his income could slow the damage. But the lawsuits and IRS penalties grew faster than he could earn. The pressure became so overwhelming that even Casa de Shenandoah, the crown jewel of his success, was at risk. Eventually, he made the heartbreaking decision to sell the estate, hoping to cut away the financial weight dragging him down. For fans, it was shocking. Wayne Newton, the man who once defined Las Vegas luxury, was losing the home that symbolized his life's work. Yet the emotional toll was even deeper. Wayne had poured decades of love, time, and meaning into that property. It held memories of family, friends, holidays, pets, and milestones. Walking away wasn't just a financial decision, it was a personal blow that shook him to his core. But he did it because he had no other choice. The alternative would have been total collapse. Still, through all the financial disasters, Wayne refused to disappear. Even when critics claimed he was finished, he kept performing. He returned to smaller venues, intimate shows, and special appearances, anything that allowed him to remain connected to the stage and to the fans who had supported him for generations. Step by step, he began rebuilding, not as the larger-than-life symbol he once was, but as a survivor determined to protect what remained of his legacy. He learned to live with less, to reassess his partnerships, and to take control of his financial life in a way he had never done before. And yet, Wayne Newton's story wasn't just about numbers or debts, it was about resilience. The collapse of his wealth forced him into the hardest chapter of his life, but it also revealed the strength he had always carried beneath the polished surface. The world expected him to fall, but instead, he started crafting a comeback that would surprise everyone watching. The storm had taken almost everything, but it hadn't taken his voice, his spirit, or his will to keep going. After losing his fortune, his estate, and much of the stability he had worked his entire life to build, Wayne Newton found himself standing at a crossroads. Most celebrities who faced the kind of financial destruction he endured quietly stepped away from the spotlight, choosing retirement or isolation to avoid further embarrassment. But Wayne Newton had never been like most celebrities. The stage wasn't just part of his life, it was his life. And even after everything went wrong, he refused to let the storms define how his story would end. Wayne knew he needed to rebuild from the ground up. And that meant returning to the purest form of his craft. Intimate performances where the connection between artist and audience meant more than the size of the venue. He began appearing in smaller theaters, private shows, and limited engagements that reminded fans why they loved him in the first place. These weren't the massive productions he once commanded, but they carried something even more powerful, authentic emotion. Fans felt like they were sitting with a man who had lived through both the heights of stardom and the depths of hardship, yet still carried a genuine warmth that made every song feel meaningful. But rebuilding wasn't just about performing. Wayne had to confront his finances head-on, a responsibility he had long entrusted to others. For the first time in his career, he began managing major decisions himself. He reevaluated contracts, renegotiated debts, and worked out structured plans with lenders and the IRS. It was grueling work, far removed from the glamour of the Las Vegas stage, but Wayne understood that doing nothing would mean losing everything permanently. Slowly, he started gaining control, stabilizing his situation one step at a time. His personal life also became a critical source of strength during this period. His wife and daughter stood by him through the most painful chapters, helping him remain grounded as he rebuilt emotionally and financially. Their support reminded him that his worth didn't come from mansions or wealth, but from the relationships that survived the chaos. Wayne often spoke about how family became the anchor he needed to navigate the uncertainty surrounding him. They made him believe that the second half of his life could still be meaningful even without the fortune he once had. The entertainment industry, surprisingly, welcomed him back with open arms. Fellow performers admired his resilience, recognizing how rare it was for a star of his magnitude to remain standing after such a dramatic fall. Television appearances, interviews, and special collaborations slowly returned, helping reintroduce Wayne Newton to a new generation of viewers. Younger audiences discovered him not just as a classic entertainer, but as a symbol of endurance, someone who refused to be erased by time or circumstance. Wayne's comeback also involved a return to the type of storytelling that made him a legend. Instead of focusing solely on singing, he incorporated personal stories into his shows, funny, emotional, and deeply human moments that pulled audiences closer. Fans weren't just listening to a performer. They were listening to a survivor reflecting on a lifetime of triumphs and trials. His shows transformed from pure entertainment into heartfelt experiences, reminding everyone that behind the polished stage image was a man who had endured more than most people knew. One of the most important steps in his comeback was his decision to establish new residency-style performances, smaller but more intimate shows that kept him permanently connected to Las Vegas. These residencies helped stabilize his income, reduce financial pressure, and restore the public's image of him. Fans could once again see Wayne Newton doing what he loved most, but this time with a renewed sense of purpose. Wayne also learned the value of simplicity. After leaving behind the enormous Casa de Shenandoah, he embraced a more controlled lifestyle, less extravagant, more secure, and far more manageable. This shift not only helped rebuild his finances, but also brought him peace he had not felt during the height of his fame. Without the constant pressure of maintaining a massive estate, he could focus on his health, his family, and his art. By the time Wayne reached his later years, he had become something remarkable, a man who lost almost everything, yet somehow walked away with his dignity, his voice, and his unwavering belief in the power of perseverance. His comeback wasn't about reclaiming wealth, it was about reclaiming his identity. And through sheer determination, he rebuilt a life that may not have been as luxurious as before, but was far richer in meaning. Today, Wayne Newton stands in his 80s with a presence that is quieter, humbler, and far more grounded than the glittering superstar he once was, but in many ways he is stronger than ever. Time has softened the edges of the man who once defined Las Vegas glamour, but it hasn't dimmed his spirit. Instead, it has given him something far more powerful than fame: perspective. After surviving lawsuits, financial collapse, public scrutiny, and the heartache of losing his beloved home, Wayne has built a life centered not on wealth or status, but on peace, gratitude, and purpose. His appearance now reflects a man who has lived through extraordinary highs and devastating lows. His signature charm is still there: the warm smile, the familiar voice, the gentle presence, but it carries a deeper sense of wisdom. Fans who meet him today say he feels more approachable than ever, no longer surrounded by the overwhelming aura of celebrity. Instead of the flashy lifestyle that once defined him, Wayne now embraces simplicity. His home is smaller, his commitments more manageable, and his energy reserved for the things that truly matter: family, health, and his deep love for performing. One of the most heartwarming aspects of his life now is his role as a devoted family man. His wife and daughter have become his foundation, offering him the emotional stability that money could never buy. Wayne often speaks about how this period of his life has been one of the happiest, not because of financial success, but because of the closeness he shares with the people he loves. The chaos of lawsuits and debt is behind him, replaced by quiet mornings, family dinners, and a calmness he never experienced during his peak fame. Yet, even in his 80s, Wayne has not stepped away from the stage entirely. For him, performing is not a job, it's his heartbeat. He continues to appear in small Las Vegas venues and special events, delivering shows filled with warmth, humor, and nostalgia. The grand productions of the past have been replaced with intimate performances where he speaks directly to the audience, sharing stories only a man with 6 decades of experience could tell. These shows are powerful not because of their size, but because they remind fans that Wayne Newton's voice, though age still carries, the same emotional depth that made him a star. Physically, he moves slower, speaks softer, and performs with a gentler rhythm. But none of these changes diminish his impact. If anything, they make him more relatable. He is no longer the untouchable symbol of Las Vegas luxury. He is a survivor who fought battles most people never saw and emerged with his dignity intact. Fans admire him not just for his music, but for the strength he showed when everything seemed lost. His relationship with wealth has also changed dramatically. Instead of chasing grand projects or extravagant ventures, Wayne now prioritizes stability and moderation. He has learned to live comfortably within his means, focusing on protecting the financial peace he worked so hard to rebuild. While he no longer owns sprawling estates or exotic animal farms, he enjoys a simpler, more secure lifestyle, one that allows him to focus on the things that bring genuine fulfillment. Wayne also finds meaning through legacy. He spends time mentoring younger performers, giving them guidance he wished he had received early in his career. He shares not just musical advice, but life lessons about trust, financial responsibility, resilience, and staying true to yourself even when the world changes around you. His story has become a powerful reminder to those entering the entertainment industry that success can vanish, but character endures. Today, people look at Wayne Newton and see a man who lost millions, faced public embarrassment, and endured decades of legal and financial battles. But they also see someone who refused to surrender. His journey proves that life doesn't end when fortune disappears. Instead, it can transform into something far more meaningful. At over 80, Wayne Newton lives with grace, stability, and quiet strength. He may no longer be the king of Las Vegas casinos, but he is something even more inspiring. A man who rebuilt himself from nothing and found peace in a world that once nearly consumed him. His story is not one of tragedy, it is one of survival, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit.